and then start sharing my screen, if you just bear with me a second. Okay, and hopefully you can all see my screen there. Um, and as I said, I'm going to talk about splinter bids, which are a very useful convention that allow you to bid slams that otherwise you would never really be able to bid. And the splinter bid is a double jump shift, in other words, a double jump in a new suit in response to an opening bid of one of a major of your partner's suit, which shows support for your partner and a singleton or void in the suit you bid. And what it shows is basically enough points for game. So it's a hand where you definitely want your partner opens one heart, you definitely want to be in at least four hearts, but rather than just jumping to four hearts, you show a singleton or void by jumping, and it has to be a double jump. So and the suit that you splinter in um, should be a singleton or void, but if it's a singleton, it should not be the ace. Now, that's not a completely universal agreement, and some people don't make that stipulation. But I find that if your partner knows that your singleton is not an ace, it makes the bidding a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier to determine where your partner's aces are if they know it's not an ace. But that's not universal, but it's my recommendation to you. So, what are the splinter bids? Well, in response to one heart, the splinter bids are three spades, or four clubs, or four diamonds. And in response to one spade, the splinter bids are four clubs, four diamonds, or four hearts. So they, in each case, show support for your partner's major with a singleton or void in the suit you bid. And you can see in all those cases it's a double jump. So hopefully it won't be misinterpreted. They can also be used in response to a minor, where the bids are very similar. So again, a double jump in a new suit in response to a minor should have the same meaning. And these particular bids are shown here, although most of them are above 3 no trump, if you want to follow the EBU rules, you should alert them all. The EBU rules currently are that bids above 3 no trump do not need to be alerted, except for artificial bids made on the first round of bidding. So these are artificial bids made on the first round of bidding, and they should be alerted. So if they come up in hands today, you should self-alert them. So before you bid them, you alert them and say, could describe them as splinter bids. By the way, you don't on BBO use the stop card. You don't need to say stop at all. There's nothing in the. I've looked on the rules for BBO about whether you should announce that you're about to make a jump bid using the stop card, and there's nothing really in there on that. So I would suggest you don't use a stop card, but you do self-alert your bids. Okay, so let's look at an example of this. Here's a hand where West, you've got 17 points, you open one heart, and your partner jumps to four clubs. That is a splinter bid showing enough points for game, presumably something like 12 points or more, support for you in hearts, at least four hearts, and a singleton or void in clubs. Now, when your partner makes a splinter bid, what you need to do is look at your holding, especially in the suit that your partner has shown a singleton or void, and determine whether that is a useful holding or not. And here you've got the 7-4-3 of clubs opposite a singleton, and that is a pretty good holding. What it means is that your partner's got strength outside of the club suit, and they've got a singleton club, so it's very likely that we only have one club loser if your partner's got a singleton. So on a hand like this, you might well decide to go on to use Blackwood or Roman key card Blackwood if that's what you're playing. 4 no trump here asks how many aces or key cards your partner has, and if they bid 5 diamonds, that response shows 1 ace, And actually, it's quite useful that if you know that the 4 club bid didn't show a singleton ace of clubs, it's quite useful that you now are pretty certain that that ace they have is the ace of diamonds. And that fits in really well with your hand, and you might well decide to go just straight to 6 hearts there. And you can see there your partner's just got 11 points in high cards, but with that singleton club, it's a very good fit for you, and you should have no trouble making 6 hearts here. You're only going to lose 1 club. You'll be able to ruff clubs if necessary, and the opponent won't be able to take more than 1 club trick there. Any questions on that? Unmute yourselves if you wish to ask something. And also just to point out how it was useful to know from West's point of view that your partner's ace was the ace of diamonds. It fits in so much better than your hand than if they had the ace of clubs. So that's why an example of hand where it's good to know that your partner's singleton is not an ace. Now, I've got another example here where the West hand is the same, but I've changed the East hand to reverse the minor suit holdings. So that, again, you open 1 heart, but now your partner bids 4 diamonds, showing that they have a singleton or void in diamonds. And now, this is not such a good fit for you. Can you see that? Can you see that singleton diamond, and the fact that they don't have a singleton club means that you're at risk of losing club tricks. On this hand here, all I've done is reversed East's minor suit holding, so they've got a singleton diamond, and I've swapped around the club holding they have. And I hope you can see that on this hand, 6 hearts is not really such a great contract anymore, is it? Because we're always going to lose a diamond potentially, and can easily lose a club as well. And if your partner splinters here with showing a singleton diamond, now your hand is not so good, and you might well decide just to settle for 4 hearts here rather than looking for a slam here. Okay, so the only thing that was different here was that they splintered in a suit where you had king 5 instead of 3 small cards, and that makes the their fit for you not so good. So that's why it's so useful to splinter, because you can sort of look at your hand and see how well it fits in with what you have there. And there's some guidelines here I've got in this slide as to how to evaluate your holding in a suit when your partner makes a splinter bid. And basically, the ideal holdings you want to have when your partner shows a singleton or void are either holding where you've got the ace and not much else, or maybe just low cards in the suit. These are all good holdings. I hope you can see that, you know, with a singleton opposite the ace XX, that's great. You'll be able to ruff and you won't lose anything there. Other holdings which are not so good are where you've got some honours maybe. Perhaps the ace queen X, that's not that great. The jack is a sort of wasted value, or a doubleton is okay. You'll be able to ruff once there. But the holdings that are really not much use are ones where you've got honours apart from the ace. So, for example, king, queen, king, jack, and so forth. These are not really good holdings in that suit. For example, think about it. If you've got the king, queen, and your partner's got a singleton, well, that hasn't really helped you much. You're going to lose 1 trick in that suit anyway, and the singleton hasn't really fitted in well with your hand. So it's important to evaluate your holding, as well as the general strength of your hand, in evaluating whether to go on and look for a slam when your partner makes a splinter bid. Anyone happen to raise any questions at that point? Let's have a look at another example. Here you open 1 heart and your partner bids 3 spades. Now that is a splinter in support of hearts and showing a singleton or void in spades. Now you need to look at your hand, both the general strength, which is quite reasonable, and also look at your holding in spades and see how well that fits in with your hand. And this is a pretty good holding to have. Your partner's got a singleton spade, so you're not going to lose more than 1 spade there. their points hopefully are in the other suits, and you might well start thinking about a slam here. You could go to 4 no trump here perhaps, or because you're worried about the diamonds, or you could, if you're familiar with it, you could start Q bidding. A Q bid here is saying, partner, I like your 3 spade bid. I'm going to show that I have first round control in clubs, here the ace, and I offer you a chance to Q bid showing your first round control. And if your partner bids 4 diamonds, that's good news for you. They've got presumably the ace of diamonds, and you might well decide to look for a slam, or you might even go straight there. Once you know your partner's got control in diamonds, you should be pretty happy in 6 hearts. Here, as it turns out, your partner has made the splinter bid with a spade void. Okay, you can't tell the difference at this point, and you'll probably just settle for 6 hearts on this hand. And on hands like this, it's very easy. It's quite common to make a slam when you've only got, say, 27 or 28 combined points between the 2 hands. You don't need the 33 points that you often have in mind for a slam. Okay, anyone have any questions on that? Splinters can be used in other bidding sequences, but the basic idea is that it always shows at least enough points for game and interest in the slam. And a useful guideline is if a bid would be forcing, then a bid in that suit a level higher becomes a splinter bid, showing good trump support, enough points for game, and a singleton or void in the suit bid. And there are situations where that's not a double jump. It can be a single jump. We'll look at an example of that in a minute. So here's another hand. You may be thinking of a splinter bid. You open 1 diamond, your partner bids 1 heart, and you can immediately see you've got a fit in hearts, and you can also see that you should have enough for game here. Now the 1 heart as a response doesn't show that many points. It might only be 6 points, but even so, with your 18 points, that should be enough for game, and you can suggest an interest in a slam and support for your partner's hearts by jumping to 3 spades there, hitting 3 spades to show that you're interested in a slam. And your partner may go back to 4 hearts if he has no interest, or otherwise he could bid something else. If he bids 4 clubs here, what should that be? Well, I would hope it is a Q bid showing first round control in clubs, presumably the ace. And if they have the ace of clubs, that really fits in very well with your hand. If you bid 4 no trump now, your partner will, suppose they respond 5 hearts, and suppose you've agreed to play Roman key card Blackwood, well, that shows 2 key cards without the Queen of Hearts. So you need to have a little think for a minute. How many key cards do you have? You have 2 aces here, and your partner's got 2 of the other key cards, so you're missing 1 key card, either an ace or the King of Hearts, but nonetheless you should be quite happy to be in 6 hearts there. And again, here you can see your partner was reasonably happy with your spade splinter bid and decided to go on and show an interest in a slam there. So that's another example of a splinter bid. The key thing to remember is that it should always be showing enough points for game. So even if your partner only had 6 points, you would splinter with this hand because you want to be in at least 4 hearts there. Any comments on that? Do interrupt if you want.
Yeah. Tony, if north and south weren't passing, could you still safely splinter bid, or might that be confused with overcall, the different suit?
Yeah, I'll come on to that in a minute.
Okay, sorry. Okay, great.
That's fine. No, that's great. What about this one? 1 spade, 17 points, and your partner bids 2 hearts. Well, how many points does 2 hearts show? It should show something like 10 points. So you know you have a heart fit here, and you know you have enough points for game. You've got at least 27 points. So this is another example of a hand where you can think about making a splinter bid. And obviously with a singleton diamond, we want to splinter in diamonds. Now here, if you were to bid 3 diamonds, that would not be a splinter bid. That would be a natural bid, wouldn't it? 1 spade, 2 hearts, 3 diamonds. It would be a strong bid. It will be a forcing bid. So if you want to splinter here, you can by bidding 4 diamonds. It's not a double jump, but because 3 diamonds is absolutely forcing, 4 diamonds is a splinter bid. So that's agreeing hearts as the trump suit and showing a singleton in diamonds. So that's really important to remember when you're make a splinter bid, that you've agreed hearts. You've agreed hearts, all right? So if your partner now bids spades, they are not saying they want to play in spades after all. They're saying they're making a Q bid to say they've got first round control in spades, presumably the ace, and they're inviting you to go on. And in fact, I think you can tell that if you trust your partner to have the ace of spades there, you might well go into 4 no trump. 5 spade bid, if you're familiar with Roman key card Blackwood, shows 2 key cards plus the queen. So that's a hand like this, where they've got these 2 aces, the queen of hearts, and with your singleton diamond opposite their diamonds, you should be able to make 6 hearts there. Again, with only 29 points there. Okay. I was asked there by Virginia, what about in competition? What about if the opponents are bidding something? Well, I recommend that if the opponents double the opening bid, that splinters are still on. However, if the opponents make a suit overcall, then in general, splinters should be off. I think it's good to have a simple rule there, and that's the one I recommend, except if you splinter in the opponent's suit. So, what does that mean? If it's got 1 heart, double, 3 spades, East can still splinter, showing heart support and a singleton or void in spades. On the other hand, if it's gone 1 heart, 3 diamonds, now 3 spades should not be a splinter. 3 spades should be a natural bid, showing a good spade suit there. The overcall has taken away that. Really doesn't really make any sense for that to be a splinter bid anymore. Much more useful to have that as a natural bid. But if you're able to splinter in the opponent's suit, say 1 heart, 3 diamonds, 4 diamonds, then your partner will recognize that this has to be a splinter. It cannot be a natural bid. So you can splinter in the opponent's suit, but don't. If you bid another suit, then that will not normally be a splinter there. It will be a natural bid. Okay. Anyone have any other questions on that? What are the advantages? Well, the real advantage is you're able to bid slams with only often 27 or fewer points if you have a useful singleton that fits in well with your partner. And really, you won't be able to bid those slams unless you're playing this convention. Disadvantages, very occasionally you, or more likely your partner, may forget about them. And that can be very embarrassing, especially that sequence 1 spade, 4 hearts can, I've seen that wrongly bid as a splinter, and your partner thinks it's natural, just passes. And of course, playing 4 hearts when you've only got 1 trump is not very good tactics normally. So watch out for that one. 1 spade, 4 hearts. It's easy to forget that one. If there are robots playing tonight, and I see there is one table already playing with robots. Robots here on BBO do play Splinters and Roman keycard Blackwood and Q bids and all the things I've been talking about recently. So they will be bidding those against you if there are robots at your table. Okay, that's it on that one. Did anyone have any questions they'd like to ask me before we start? Let me unmute you all. Okay, you're all unmuted. Anyone like to ask any questions? Did that all make sense? I'm just going to stop the sharing there. Okay. Anyone have anything they would like to raise before we end the meeting?
No.
Okay. All right. So that's it then on this. I hope you all followed that, and they're great fun when you can do them, and you and your partner are on the same wavelength. And if there are no more questions, I'll end the meeting there. If you want to chat, you can stay around, but I'll end the meeting and we'll start the game at 7:30.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye,
Thank
everyone. Then. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Take care.
Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Tony.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Tony.
All right.
Thank
Bye, everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.